of rope to help build a swing set. Each swing needs 2 1/4 yards of ropes. How many swings can Mark build? This is a division problem. This is 18 divided by 2 1/4. Make sure 18 goes in the box. If you would like to change 2 1/4 to a decimal, you certainly may. I suggest, first of all, estimating. And then if you turn it into a decimal, the 1/4 is something that we memorize. We take that quiz every Friday. Sarah and Eugene are building a deck. Tuesday, Sarah built 1/3 of the deck, and Wednesday, Eugene built 3/8 of the deck. They want to finish the deck Thursday. What fraction of the deck will they have to build to finish? You need to add 1/3 plus 3/8, and then you're going to have to subtract. Now, to add fractions, you're going to need a common denominator. I suggest using 24 as your denominator. Now, how do you get from 3 to 24? To the top. How do you get from 8 to 24? Times 3. If you do it to the bottom, do it to the top. And then make sure we talk about what they have left to build. Joseph started the month with $132 in his checking account. Let's change colors. That is a that is a positive. Throughout the month of $975.30, he purchased groceries for $175.91. That's a negative. He made a cash withdrawal of $87. That's a negative. And he deposited $315.15. That's a positive. So you're adding up all the positives and all the negatives and then subtracting. Make sure that 132 has the decimal there and 87 has the decimal in the back. That way when you line up your numbers, the decimals need to Solomon went on a hiking expedition through Yellowstone National Park. He started his hike at 8 o'clock in the morning at an elevation of 7,456 feet. Over the next 2 hours, he descended 1,322 feet. What is Solomon's new elevation? You are subtracting. Make sure you line up your decimal. If you're having trouble, your decimal goes at the end. Jameson is purchasing 3.5 pounds of tomatoes for $1.60 per pound. How much change should Jameson receive if he gives the cashier $20? Change means you are going to subtract. Per could mean multiply or divide. It means you're going to multiply though. So first you need to multiply tomatoes times $1.60 and then subtract from 20. Now remember, the decimal on 20 is back here. A recipe makes 1 1/2 dozen muffins. It uses 3/4 of a stick of butter for each batch. How much butter will you need to make 6 dozen muffins? I know when we see dozen, we think, oh, we have to, 12, it's 12, it's 12. But it really doesn't matter because 1 1/2 dozen uses 3/4 stick of butter. And we want to know how much butter for. So you're going to cross product and then divide. Yes, you can turn these into decimals if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just it'll take you longer. These decimals, though, you do have memorized. They are on your Friday quiz. 2 carpenters are building a fence. After 5 minutes, one carpenter is finished 1/8 of the way and the other is finished 3/16. So, really, I don't need this number, or this number. How much more fence do they have left? We're talking subtracting now. You're going to need to add 1/8 plus. That's what they built. You need to know how much they have left. This one is just like number 2. So number 7 and number 2 are exactly alike. Different numbers. Number 8 is just like number 6. That's that word recipe or cookies. Recipe calls for 2 2/3 cups of sugar. She needs to make 3 batches. How much sugar will she need? For this one, you can set up a proportion if you want, but the truth is, you really just need to multiply. So first things first, you're going to Texas. You're going to put 3/1, and then it's top times top, bottom times bottom. The cheerleader sold 22 brownies and 45 cupcakes. The brownies sold for $1.35 each, and the cupcakes sold for $1.95 each. They spent $35 on supply for the bake sale. How much profit did they make? Profit is what you made, how much you sold, minus your cost. The cost here is $35. They sold 22 brownies and 45 cupcakes. You're going to have to add the brownies and the cupcakes together, and that'll be how much you sold. Matthew earns $12.50 per hour at a restaurant. On Friday, he worked 4.5 hours and then 5 2/3 hours on Sunday. Finally, he worked 7 5/6 hours on Sunday. What were Matthew's earnings for the weekend? You're going to have to add Friday plus Saturday plus Sunday first. That'll tell you how many hours. I will tell you, if you look at these denominators, I would use 6. Ooh-wee. So I would add first. That'll tell you how many hours. And then the hours, you're going to have to multiply times 1250 for your answer. Here's your clue. This griddable means the hours are probably going to be a whole number. or a fraction that's very easy to turn into a decimal. Ms. Blankenship had $80 to purchase school supplies for her class. She bought 32 glue sticks and 32 boxes of crowns. Each glue stick cost $1.40, and each box of crowns is 59 cents. How much money did Ms. Blankenship have left after these purchases? So multiply to find out how much money she spent on glue, how much money she spent on crowns. You're going to add those together. And then have left means you're going to subtract 80 minus how much she spent. Careful with your decimal places. In New York, the lowest recorded temperature ever is negative 13 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest temperature ever is 107 degrees Fahrenheit. What is the difference between the warmest and the coldest temperatures in New York? Difference means subtract. Oh my goodness. So you are actually subtracting 107 minus negative 13. If you think about it, from here to here is how far, and from here to here is how far. This is a very far difference between positive 107 and negative 13. You are adding those. John and his cousins are scuba diving in the Gulf of Mexico. They dove to see a shipwreck at a depth of 54 feet. And then there's a boat down here. Boo, boo. Shipwreck. There's my sail. This is at negative 54 feet. The elevations of John's home in Houston is 80 feet above sea level. So here he is, and here's his house. 80 feet positive. What is the difference between the elevation of John's house and the shipwreck? This number 13, you are looking for the difference. You have a positive and a negative. Quotient means divide. Make sure 17 goes in the box. Make sure you move those decimals. And make sure your answer is negative, because this is a tic-tac-toe or a TED. A TED problem. Doop, doop. Product means you are multiplying. And that is also remember, be very careful. At the end, you should have 1, 2 numbers behind the decimal.